Hi everybody, try to guess what we will speak about today. You're right. Today I'd like to tell you about SVG or Scalable Vector Graphics. So, what is SVG? SVG is a vector graphic format based on XML and is used to display a variety of graphics on the web and other environment. SVG has been around about 15 years. The first public draft of SVG was introduced in 1999 and it didn't become a working draft until a few months later. A year and a half after first introducing SVG, the W3C issued SVG as a candidate recommendation in August 2000. The current version of SVG is 1.1, which was published as W3C recommendation in August 2011. Okay, our contents. Today we will discuss creating SVGs, what tools do we need, how to create SVG elements, how to add SVG to a web page, why do we need SVG, difference between vector and raster, what libraries we can use, browser support, where can we meet SVG. Creating SVGs, what tools do we need? You can use these tools that you see on the screen. If you want to create SVG file, but if you never met with them, you can use such common things as Sublime Text or Notepad or any text editor. How to create SVG elements. There are several basic shapes used for most SVG drawing. To insert a shape, you should create an element in the document. I want to show you some basic shapes. This is line element. It takes as attributes 2 points which specify the start and end point of the line. Next element is rectangle. There are only 6 basic attributes that control the position and shape of the rectangle on screen here. Now here you can discover how to make circle. There are really only 3 attributes that are appreciable here. And the last shape that I want to show you is a triangle. Look carefully at this code if you want to make the same. Don't forget to choose color for your shapes. How to add SVG to your web page. Look at the list of methods that I want to represent you. Okay, first one is an object. If you introducing any advanced SVG features such as CSS and scripting, the HTML5 object tag is your best option. I'm including empt for the purpose of completeness, but don't use it. While it's similar to object, empt never has been and probably never will be part of any HTML or XML specification. However, it's supported by most browsers and it's often used to implement Flash plugins. Within an iframe. This may be a good method if you want to completely separate SVG code and script from your image page. However, manipulating an SVG image from your main page's JavaScript will become a little more difficult. The method works in all HTML5 browsers and also permits animation, scripting and CSS. But should you use it? The method feels a little dirty to me. It's possibly an option for simple images or if you are building the image using JavaScript, but I recommend it you keep your file separate when it's possible. You're probably wondering why EMG isn't first tag in my list. For security reasons, browsers will disable SVG scripts, linking, and other types of interactivity when they are added to your page with an EMG tag. In addition, IE9, Chrome, and Safari won't apply style sheet rules to the SVG if they are defined in a separate CSS file. Like EMG tag, you can also use SVG like a background using background img property in CSS. Okay, why do we need SVG? Difference between vector and raster. You know that there are two basic types of digital graphic images existing on the web, vector and raster. I'd like to consider the difference between them. Scalability of vector and raster. Vector images don't lose their sharpness and clarity, no matter what to extent or how many times you change their size. Raster images get blurry and pixelated when you examine them from a close-up. Resolution of vector and raster. The resolution of raster graphics is formed by millions or square pixels, dots per inch, or pixels per inch, so their size is always fixed value. Vector graphics, on the other hand, are made up of plenty of paths, mathematically defined in terms or ratios, proportions, width, heights, and other. Creation of vector and raster. Vector images can be easily transformed into raster ones, but it's more complicated and time-consuming to work the other way around. File size. Vector images are quite lighter than their raster peers because their dimensions are defined by mathematical calculations and not by millions of pixels. The high efficiency on their file size make them much more convenient to transfer them from one device to another. Plus, they carry a lot of information in a relatively small file size. On the other hand, raster file sizes are defined by their DPI or PPI fixed width and height, which makes them much heavier while containing less information. Compatibility of vector and raster. You can only open and edit them with a specialized software such as Adobe Illustrator. In contrast to vectors, raster's file formats are widely popular and recognizable by all common image programs. What libraries we can use to manipulate SVGs? Libraries can simplify our work with SVG. Here you can see two of them. Raphael.js is a library that allows you to draw as well as animate vector graphic SVG on web pages. Snap is very similar and rather smaller than Raphael. It supports SVG features like clipping and masking. If you want to draw something, you should just put the code from the library in your file. Browsers support. Of course, you are interested what browsers can be used for SVG. Here's the can I use chart. Where can we meet SVG? You know that SVG is around us practically everywhere. I want to mention some examples of it so you can understand that it's almost a part of our environment. So where can we meet SVG is synchronized animation and audio, animated word landmarks recreated in SVG. You can see here SVG files on HTML5 video, third dimension using SVG transform you can see on the red picture. Then it's also SVG UI components and HTML5 subtitles bar. You can meet it in your favorite movies. Then is path tracing map wrote with SVG and Raphael. You can see it over there. It can be also different maps, for example, just maps on the postcards. Then is deconstructing columns with SVG as here, analytics with Raphael and SVG, and of course our favorite Fontelfsum icon that we use practically in every our work. Okay, if you want to read more about SVG, you can use these links. Thank you for your attention.